me. Say with me, please. I say your name. Pledge that from this day forward, I will strive to love my brother as I love myself. I say your name. From this day forward, will strive to improve myself spiritually, morally, mentally, socially, politically, and economically, for the benefit of myself, my family, and my people. I say your name. Pledge that I will strive to build business, build houses, build hospitals, build factories, and enter into international trade for the good of myself, my family, and my people. I say your name. Pledge that from this day forward, I will never raise my hand with a knife or a gun to beat, cut, or shoot any member of my family or any human being except in self-defense. I say your name. Pledge from this day forward, I will never abuse my wife by striking her, disrespecting her. For she is the mother of my children and the producer of my future. I say your name. Pledge that from this day forward, I will never engage in the abuse of children, little boys or little girls, for sexual gratification. But I will let them grow in peace to be strong men and women for the future of our people. I say your name. Will never again use the B word to describe any female, but particularly my own black sister. I say your name. Pledge from this day forward that I will not poison my body with drugs or that which is destructive to my health and my well-being. I say your name. Pledge from this day forward, I will support black newspapers, black radio, black television. I will support black artists who clean up their acts to show respect for themselves and respect for their people and respect for the ears of the human family. I say your name. Will do all of this. So help me God.
Well, good morning, and good morning to you. And welcome to Sunday School. I am your teacher this morning, Professor Alonzo Richard Fleming Jr. My students say that's what I should start telling y'all, because that's what they call me, Professor. So I guess I can do that. I want to welcome everybody that's joining me for Sunday School this morning. We have a program this morning. I think it's going to be relevant to you. It's designed to help us to expand the conversation beyond philosophy, beyond ideology, into practicality. Our subject this morning is Black men and the politics of disrespect. Black men and the politics of disrespect. Now, we have been doing a series on the dynamics of existence. And this particular subject today is a continuation of the third dynamic, even though we had gone into the fourth dynamic. This subject today kind of parlays or go inside of the third dynamic, which is the group dynamic. And the group dynamic is spelled out in surviving as part of a group. And when you survive as part of a group, it entails things like baseball teams, your churches, your mosque, your temple, whatever group you happen to be a part of. Maybe you're part of a bingo club or a bowling team. You see yourself inside that group. And the group dynamic also extends to nations. And when we get into the fourth dynamic, which talks about developing as part of a global community, you will see how going from the individual dynamic to the family dynamic to the group dynamic to the species dynamic, how it all fits together and gives us a way of thinking that brings about a survival that we are worthy of. And so during this political season that we're in, and they've said this over and over through our years, through our lifespan, this is going to be the most consequential election in history. This is what we have been told over and over. But I believe this particular one, I've never said that, but I've said that this particular one, I can agree, is the most consequential election, I think, on a planetary scale. And so my title kind of gives you an idea of where I'm going with this subject. The Black men and the politics of disrespect. We have more than two choices in this election. However, the people who are controlling the narrative and the conversation would make you think that there is only two people in this presidential election and two parties from which you can vote, or for which you can vote. And even though there are independent candidates and candidates with ideas that go beyond the status quo, you know little or nothing about those particular candidates. And so we're going to shed a light on the history of the politics that we as a group of people within the larger national group or nation, how we are dealt with. Now, the way of happiness dictates that we support government that is for all the people. Support government that is for all the people, that support all the people. Let me just kind of read it to you. I want to set you up with this before we get into the meat of this program or this Sunday school. The theme of the Sunday school is a Phil Keaggy song by the same name called Sunday School. And it starts off with, "Give me more blindness," said the blind man. "Give me more folly," said the fool. "Give me stone silence," said the deaf man. "I didn't believe Sunday school." I chose that as a theme song because it sums up the way we are dealt with by the political structure in this nation. So the way to happiness, the 10th principle or the 10th precept to the way to happiness is to support a government that is designed and run for all the people. And it goes, unscrupulous and evil men and groups can usurp the power of government and use it to their own ends. Government organized and conducted solely for self-interested individuals and groups give the society a short lifespan. This imperils the survival of everyone in the land. When you have that type of people, or minds, I should say, operating your government, it imperils everybody in the country. History is full of such governmental deaths. In other words, nations have fallen for the same reason. And if you just look back on them, you will see what causes a nation to thrive and what causes a nation to fall. Opposition to such governments usually just bring on more violence. So the government responds in violence when you oppose the government. It just usually brings on more violence by the government against the people when you oppose it. Bad government. But one can raise his voice in caution when such abuses are abroad, and one need not actively support such a government doing nothing illegal. It is yet possible by simply withdrawing one's cooperation to bring about an eventual reform. So the 10th principle says, it recognizes that if you oppose a government, it's going to come at you violently. So there has to be some other way of getting rid of that's a bad government or a bad policy or whatever the case is. Withdraw your support from it. You see, withdrawing your support brings it down. And you have a civic responsibility and a social responsibility and a cultural responsibility to your children and your grandchildren, in spite of the fact that you and I have been cultivated to live for today, never thinking about our children's future and our grandchildren's future. We're so busy trying to get raptured out of here that we pay no attention to the fact that we are here right now, and there's no evidence to show that somebody's going to come save us from ourselves. So this is a third dynamic. This is the continuation of the third dynamic, surviving as a group. I want to thank everybody that's listening in this morning. Conchita and Mom, thank you. I appreciate you. And those of you in the chat room, I appreciate you. So I want to put some questions before you first this morning. I want to give you something to think about. See, Holy Spirit don't give you directives. He gives you questions because he's confident in what's inside of you. So he trusts you because he knows you. And when I speak of Holy Spirit, I'm not talking about some hocus pocus. I'm talking about the Spirit of the Creator that is in you and knows you. So I want to put questions on the table for your consideration as I go through this, in hopes that we will understand that we have a responsibility. Where are your great ones? Where are they? I want you to survey in your mind and ask yourself this question. Where are my thinkers? Where are my brilliant ones? Where are my inventors? Where are the ones that, see, because there's always somebody for everybody, because this is how the universe works. When you have a desire in your soul, the process of evolution creates that which you need to survive. It creates it for you. So then you have to have some thinkers among you because you desire it. You have to have some inventors among you because you desire it. You have to have some generational planners among you, people who think in advance because you desire it. And the desire is what brings about the reality. So where are they? Who are your cultural leaders? Who are your educators that educate you and your children for survival and thriving? And when I say survival, I'm talking about the higher levels of survival, which is thriving. Where are your spiritual people that are able to put you in touch with the God? Where are they? Who are they? So surviving as a group is inclusive of surviving as part of a nation. And we have had a love-hate relationship with this, in this nation that we are a part of, because we have not fully accepted where we are. We are either looking in the past or looking in the future. And the only thing they got for us in the future is a rapture. And the only thing they got for us in the past is good feelings about who did what. But in the present, what do we have? So I want to preface my comments, though, by agreeing with some of the things that are being said in our community before I'm getting into the meat of this. But I want to set you up, because I just don't want to give you a good speech and then you go look at the football game. Oh, that was good. Man, it's time to get up off your knees and your butt and start living. It is time for us. Said we have a bunch of foolishness, is what Conchita says in the chat room. I want to preface my comments by first agreeing with what is being said, that we are in the last days. We are in the last days. But this idea of the last days have been hijacked by preachers who use this as a way to extract and separate you from your money. What use do you have with money if you expecting to be swooped out of here on a cloud? You don't see the subtle logic in it and influences of making you ignore your children's future, your grandchildren's, and your great-grandchildren's future. So I agree that we are in the last days. I realize that we are in the last days, but the last days of what? What is it the last days of? It is not, brothers and sisters, the last days of humanity on earth. It is not that. This idea that we've been sold, this bill of good that we've been sold, that this is the last days of humanity and some miraculous thing is going to come that is foolish and save us from the responsibility of making a way for us and our children at the leadership of the spirit of our ancestors who bring this about, who bringing this reality about. It is the last days of a way of thinking. It is the last days of a particular type of civilization. It is the last days. And with the last days of that civilization and that type of thinking goes every institution that holds on to that thinking, that type of thinking. Every single institution goes away with it. Yes, it is the last days. It is the last days of what our ancestors prayed would come to an end. It's the last days of it. You can't stop it, just like you couldn't stop it when it started. It's the last days of it. So the group I want to talk about in terms of dealing with this subject of black men and the politics of disrespect, the group I want to talk about is the United States, which is coming out of America. The United States is coming out of America. See, we have a hard time as people. And I guess I'm just going to say black folk. We have a hard time thinking in terms of principle because we were taught hocus pocus. And as a result of being true to hocus pocus, we ignore principle because the principle sometimes is wrapped in something that is not satisfying. It don't look good for what is wrapped in. And so we miss the principle. I said we are at the end, and the group I'm talking about that's ending is America. The group that's rising from America is the United States. I'm not going to go into the Declaration of Independence, which is the creed of this country. Even though you saw the slavery and all the oppression and everything that happened, see, you can't do away with truth just because it's surrounded and hidden from you by lies and deceit. We hold these truths to be self-evident. You know that. You know that in your soul. You know that in your mind. You know that with all your being. This truth. But without going so deep into it, that truth was covered up by American slavery, American oppression, American double dealing, American white supremacy, the philosophy of white supremacy covered up the truth, what was found in the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal and endowed with their creator with certain inalienable rights, and among them certain inalienable rights. When they use the word certain, they mean sure. You can't take them. Nobody can give them to you. That was given to you at your creation. No man can give them to you or take them from you. You can't vote your way into them rights. Can't do it. And so the principles of the United States follow the path of the evolution towards oneness, which is the path of all humanity. So I want to put another question. Where do you see yourself as a group in 5 years? Where do you see yourselves in 5 years? Considering this election coming up, where do you see yourself at the end of it? You're part of this emerging nation, the United States. You identify with it. You just don't know it because, as I said, it's been covered up by America. What if Donald Trump wins this election? Do you have a plan? What if he wins? Now, you all called him all racist and this and misogynistic and all of the names. And quite frankly, I noticed him bumbling around myself. I noticed this. But what if he wins? What if he wins? What if Kamala loses with all the accolades that she's been receiving? What if she loses? Do you realize that the last election was the first election that the majority of white people voted for one candidate and that candidate lost? Do you know that the majority in all of our elections, Donald Trump, or when white folk vote in the majority for whoever they vote for, that's who wins. But in this particular election of 2020, 74,000 million, I forget exactly what it was, 74 million, 76 million, I forget the exact number, but it was the majority of white folks voted for him and he lost. How did he lose? He lost because the Democrats put together a coalition of all of Americans. They had whites and blacks and browns and reds and yellows. A coalition was put together that represent the United States. That's the reason that the Democrats won, in spite of the fact that majority of white folk voted for Trump. It was the first election where the majority of white people voted for one candidate and that candidate lost. 2020. And the 2018 or the 2016 election was a backlash for Barack Obama. It was a white backlash for sitting up under this Negro for 8 years. This is what they was reasoning in their minds. It was hard. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? And what if Donald Trump wins this election? Now, let me go back into a little history for you as a reminder so that we can really put some meat on the bone of this discussion here. And I see all the comments and I appreciate all the comments that's in the chat room. Do you know? See, some of you all might be too young to know this. But do you know that Joe Biden was the architect of the 1994 crime bill? And do you know that this 1994 crime bill, which opened the door wider, I should say, for mass incarceration of black men, your babies, Do you know that mass incarceration was due to this crime bill, which allowed for private prisons to be erected? And when you do anything that's designed to make money, then you got to create a market for it. So if you got private prisons, what the hell do you think you need with that? You need prisoners to fill it. And so mass incarceration and private prisons were the direct result of not only Joe Biden, but going back Clinton, when Joe Biden was in the Senate and Bill Clinton was the president. Mass incarceration of your sons, which made up the bulk of the prisoners, and then the poor brown people and poor whites were all swept into this whole mass incarceration, to where now in the United States of America, you have the greatest incarceration of its citizens than any country on earth, including North Korea and China. The hell they talking about? China and North Korea, your enemy. What are they talking about when they talk to me saying North Korea and China is my enemy? I don't understand that language. When you have an industry that's in place to make money, you must create a market, or there already is a market. And so the market for these prisons was your sons. And they know by the 4th grade just about how many of them are going to be in these prisons, going to fulfill these prisons. They know. And so in the 2020 election, Black folk were not enthusiastic by Joe Biden because he did not bring the excitement of Barack Obama. And so we was ho-hum. We weren't enthusiastic about him, but they were able to use Donald Trump to scare the hell out of us. And so we got in there and we voted for this man that we would not have voted for in bulk anyway. Some of the people are in the chat room, and I get it. The crime was being committed. I get it. But even that is a stimulation. My father was murdered in his home. You see. But when you got the CIA pumping crack in the 80s to your young people, what the hell you think they're going to do? These crack addicts. And now the next generation that came in the 80s are the children of the crack addicts. So the diminished intellectual abilities are there. You don't realize that you got thinkers. You read the Bible and it says, let us deal with them wisely. Well, what do you think that means? That they thinking and they're putting policy in place to bring about what they're thinking. And so you don't understand it because you've been separated from your thinkers. You look down on your thinkers. You look down on your best minds. You look down on your intellectuals, and you filled with preachers sending you to heaven that they don't even want to go to. They will run to that hospital faster than a cat can lick its. Well, my father used to say that. They get sick, they'll run to the hospital faster than you to stay here. But they got you wanting to go to a heaven that they don't even want to go to. So blacks were not enthusiastic in 2020 and less enthusiastic about Biden in 24. And so they had to do something, because once that election came about, or that debate, and he blew it basically against another imbecile. I don't like calling names, but that's the level we are at. They represent the intellectual abilities of the nation. That's who you pushing up to the top. They're coming out of the nation, so they represent the intellect, the spirituality, the historical abilities of the nation. I'm preaching this morning. That's what Kamala and Biden and Obama and Trump and the other fellow Vance represent, brothers and sisters. That's what they represent. They have taken skills from us and given degrees. But where are your thinkers? Where are your economists? Where are your builders? You got degrees. We got degrees. We are intellect. We are Dr. Fleming. Where are your men of courage? Where are they? They know that they have paid off the preachers. See, because they had a bill that, because your churches were, and I'm getting into it, but I need to give you a historical perspective. I don't want to just leave you with surface stuff. You got to see how it got here. You see, when our churches, before mega churches, were more community-based, the churches were going back to what it was like during the days before Martin Luther King. They were run by the community, by the people who were in them, and by the community in which they were in. But they can't, and they knew this. They have to control their Negroes. They can't ever let you have an independent thought or outside the box. And so they came up with a bill that circumvented the separation of church and state. This was done by Ronald Reagan and the Bush families. And this bill allowed for churches and religious organizations to have access to billions of dollars as long as they said carried the party line. And these churches with these billions of dollars were paid off. So the preachers don't have the freedom. Just like in Jesus' day, the preachers were in bed with the Roman government, and they were making sure that they kept the people in control because they were getting paid off, brothers and sisters. And it's hard for you to see it, but the effects of it you see. And so you can draw a beeline. You draw a beeline. Faith-based initiative. That was it. Thank you, Nubian goddess. Thank you for that. It was the faith-based initiative that allowed these preachers to get access to public dollars to run their shows. And they could never tell you the truth. It's the only thing that they could not do was tell you the truth. To the fact that you don't even think there's something true next to what they're telling you. And so they knew that they had paid off the black preachers, and the black preachers control the masses of black women, whom they made sure that they were highly educated in stupidity. And I'm not calling my sister stupid, but the education we got is an education in stupidity. That's why we can't build nothing. can't run nothing, can't get along with each other. It's an education in stupidity. And people can come here less educated than us and rich off of our educated asses. I drive a BMW. I drive a Lexus. I live in a big house on the hill. Other men are planning for their future. Your man is in prison or silenced or put to death. And so they cannot win without the black vote, the Democrats. And they know who they control. And when I say control, I'm saying it in the sense of control. When I want you to have a thought, black woman in them churches, I will give it to you. Until then, shut up, sit down, raise your hand, praise the Lord, pray, but you ain't got no man. You are not protected. I got to speak on this. They have carefully cultivated the Democrats, the black woman through handouts, religion, and more than anything else, turning a deaf ear to the thinking of the black male. Now, God or the ancestors or your creator or the universe, whatever you want to call it, has given everybody, for the purposes of creation, a male and a female counterpart. He's not going to send no foreigner to you to reform you. He's going to raise up those among you because of your desire and the ancestral lineage that you have from your African ancestors. They did not bring savages over here. You couldn't build this country with savages. It took brilliant people to build this country. But you've been separated from your brilliant ones, even the young people. You got brilliant young men and brilliant young women, but you have an energy of ridicule among us when we recognize a smart. Oh, poo-poo him. He doesn't have any power. She doesn't have any power. And we will follow nincompoops who march us around in circles with no kind of plan. So they know that they cannot win without the black vote. And they've carefully cultivated many of our ladies through handouts, government handouts, and religion, and to throw a deaf ear at any thinking black man, throw all that stuff out the door. Don't pay no attention to that. So they ignore, I'm talking about the ladies, because we all know that these churches saturate our community and women are filling them. We know this. And you need a black man that's willing to tell you the truth. Without all the silliness. Now, we got somebody that said her husband hit her for the first time last night. What is she supposed to do? Endure abuse? No, change your mind. Change your mind. You know, you got enough sense to know that when your husband hits you, that you get out of that circumstance. Well, why can't you understand that when a cop hits you, get out of that circumstance? When the government abuses you, get out of that circumstance. We understand it on that level, but do we understand it on the level that I'm talking about? Change your mind. Change your mind of what you desire, and your world will change to fit what you desire. But as long as you hold that and he's abusive, he's this, he's that. And I'm not making light of that, but I'm saying to you that as long as you hold this fault instead of releasing it, see, the releasing of it is the changing of your mind. And when you know better, you do better. See, it's as simple as that. And so ignore the knowledge of a thinking man at the peril of themselves and the peril of their own sons. Now, black folk in America have been the most loyal Americans. We've been loyal to, nobody can find fault in us. We've been abused and we've stayed loyal to the principle. We've been beat, Nubian queen, princess, goddess, and we've stayed loyal to the country. So like the question she asked in the chat room, should she remain loyal? That's my point. It's time to change mind because the times have changed. We have been the most loyal of the citizens. But in our loyalty to the nation has brought a level of disrespect to us that we can no longer ignore. They cannot, the Democrats, hide who they really are. See, because they had to bring Kamala out because we were not enthusiastic about Joe Biden, and the Democrats can't win without the masses of upwards of 90% of black folk voting for them, or 95%. They can't win an election. So they were forced to bring out somebody that would excite us. But in bringing out someone who would excite us, it also revealed, black woman, what they really think about you, what they really think you are.
In the mall with her, mama have a ball with her. Somebody call Rihanna, I'm about to draw with her. He with the stage cause he in the wild women. Put the legs on his head, now he loves tall women. You will never put me calling these men daddy. I ain't lying, grandma, just to make it happy. Lifestyle winner, can't fit her. It never happened if the wasn't happened. I'm a hot girl, I do hot. Till the shit come on my outfit. Don't take quick, cause I ain't thirsty. These dudes mad, they wanna hurt me. I'm a hot girl, women put the legs on his head, now he loves tall women. You will never put me calling these men daddy. I ain't lying, grandma, just to make it happy. Lifestyle winner, can't fit her. It never happened if the wasn't happened. I'm a hot girl, I do hot. Till the shit come on my outfit. Don't take quick, cause I ain't thirsty. These dudes mad, they wanna hurt me. I'm a hot girl, I do hot.
Is that what you want for your daughters? Booty shaking? There was some booty shaking done in there that I couldn't even show on here. But you notice she had the young girls dancing, shaking booty. When Kamala Harris talks to you, she thinks, and her advisors think that that's what you are, because that's what they presented to you: barbecue sandwiches and pop and booty shaking. That's what they think of you. Let me say it again. That's what they think of you.
Mom with her, mama have a ball with her. Somebody call Rihanna, I'm about to draw with her.
That's what they think of you. They did not come to you with policy, black woman. They did not come to you with a way to better educate your sons. They did not come to you with a way to better educate your daughters and create an environment of mating so that you can bring about some respect in your community from your fellow brothers and sisters across this country and around the world who disrespect you. They brought to you booty shaking. They brought to you somebody else's issue. Is your issue abortion? Whose issue is that? But even with that issue, that's not what was brought to you. Shaking your ass in the camera and now on Facebook, TikTok, everywhere else. See, this is what they think of you. That's all you see. I can't hardly even look on Facebook no more because a black woman's ass is in my face. This is what is being stimulated among us. And given a level of respect. Withdraw from it. So whose issue is the abortion issue? Do you have, if you have a right to go get you an abortion at will, how does that change the condition of your communities? How does that affect the condition of your communities? Do you have any issues that come from your soul? And if so, what are they? So what are they promising you when they come to, and I'm not speaking for the Republicans. I'm not telling you who to vote for and who not to vote for, but what I am bringing to the surface is the reality of what's before you, and you're being induced to make a choice between this, and I want you to see the nature of the choice that you are making. What are they promising you? Every time they talk, they promise the gays something. They promise women something. They promise the migrants something. They promise the dreamers something. They promise the immigrants something. They promise the union something. But when it comes to the black man and woman, we're not black presidents. We're everybody's president. But you need to run that sentence a little more and say, well, you're not the black president. You're everybody's president but the black. You see. So now, when Obama was in office, he couldn't even say the word black. He couldn't even say black and man at the same time. Do you remember in 2009 when Henry Louis Gates was falsely arrested by a cop? He had to sit down, two black men with one white man, and as an equal, and have a beer summit. And America even looked down its nose on that. But the fact of the matter is, he did not have the power within himself to speak to the matter directly. He had to pretend like it didn't exist. When Trayvon Martin was murdered, Obama made the mistake of telling the truth by saying, in the shock of the whole thing, that Trayvon Martin could have been his son. They made him walk that back. And so now they have brought out Kamala, and she is, she got black folk excited, especially black women, and the black men are not hot on her. But maybe that's not the right to say it. Black men are not excited about her. They don't come to your man in respect and bring policy. So, because see, this is what the black man wants. This is what your man knows that you may not know, some of you. See, when you have policy, You can't bamboozle me with booty shaking and chicken dinners. And you want policy, but the black man is not interested because we know that ain't no policy. It's booty shaking. When that booty shaking is over, when the election is over, you're going to be right back in the tool shed where you were before the election. Kamala Harris would not be seen with your black butt before this election. And before they knew that you was not going to vote in numbers that would give them the victory. And so they bring out Obama and they got to bolster it because now the black man is not excited about Mrs. Harris. But they don't come to the black man just like they came to you with booty shaking black woman. Look at what they come to the black man with.
You're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down? That's not acceptable.
He said that in his presumption, because see, remember, if you watch the news, they did not talk to us about policy. They couched the black man's non-interest in the Democrats as just getting back at somebody. And he used the word denigrating. One man denigrate black people, a businessman, and he compares this one man denigrating black people with a whole party that does it. You see, his whole party has been denigrating black people. How long we been voting Democrat? Where's the black community at? Where's a black community that's prospering? Where's a black community that has a balance of businesses and citizens and neighborhoods? Something is wrong with our thinking. And so now he comes telling us, shut up and vote. But we've been voting Democrat for the last 60-something years. And the Democrats never speak to our issues. What are our issues? What are some of our issues we have? We have been the most loyal people in this country. When the Japanese were interned during World War II, they got some help getting up. You see, when the Jews were interned in Germany, mind you, they got some help. But when the black man says, wait a minute now, this is the richest country on this planet, and we have worked, our ancestors worked for generations. Now we really do need some help up, and we really don't want it in the sense of divvying out pennies and then you controlling how we spend the pennies. And if we don't spend the pennies the way you say we should spend it, you put us in prison. Oh, he's not the black man's president. She's not the black man's president. She's everybody's president. So when you talk about denigration, Mr. Obama, who I voted for twice, then let's look at the denigration. Donald Trump is one man, a businessman with his businesses. And he does with his businesses what he will do with his businesses. So that denigration of black people is one man's denigration. But when you got a whole party that's feeding us hot dogs and telling us it's T-bone steaks, is that not denigration? When you got a whole party who participated in the crime bill, Is that not denigration? When you have a whole party that puts in front of your girls a booty shaking degenerate individual as a political inducement to vote for her, is that not denigration? Is that not denigration, people? I want you to know, as I close, America is falling and the United States is rising. And the United States represents all people. See, the philosophy is what's rising. And you got to catch that. See, the truth is true because it's true. Not because who said it or who denied it. It's true because it's true. And we do hold these truths. America is the only country, or the United States is the only country that is made up of the planet. This nation represents the planet. Every religion and creed and people from around the world is in this as an example of what the planet could be. And so we are the centerpiece of it. And so now the white supremacist mind is being moved away, and you're going to see the mind of the United States rising. But we got to go through this. We got to go through this tough time. But do not, brothers and sisters, do not vote for somebody because they put you down for thinking about who you want to vote for, yet tell you you are free to vote for whoever you want to vote for. They publicly shame you for thinking about voting or thinking about and analyzing their policy. What are their policies with respect to you? Not with respect to everybody else. You know what they tell us to get in where we fit in. But they say gay. They say LGBTQPS. They say women. They say dreamers. They say unions. They don't say black man. Or descendants of those who were enslaved. They don't say the descendants of those. They say the dreamers. They've been here all their life and they have children and they talk about them in that terms. In those terms, they talk about women. They talk about gays and lesbians. They talk about the dreamers. They talk about the migrants in those terms. Why won't the Democrats talk to us like men and women, but bitches and hoes and niggas and punks? That's how they talk to us. But they want us to vote for them, or alternatively vote for the one who is just as crazy, but he's crazy enough to say it. They will do it. He crazy enough to say it. And so in here, Obama is now on the scene shaming black men for wanting to think. Shaming us for wanting to think. I will not be voting for no Democrat until they talk and do publicly. Don't get behind the doors and tell me to shut up and just be cool until we get in the office. Then we'll take care of you. So this disrespect ends today. I'm Dr. Fleming, and I'll talk to you next week.
And I've had enough of that.
Besides, I can relate to your kind. Whoa. Leave me alone, said the lonely man. I don't wanna let go of this feeling. Leave me to roam, said the one